Welcome back to Small Changes, Big Shifts, Building Rhythm and Resilience. Today, joining me is Ann Gaffigan. She spent over 15 years in business, nonprofit, sports, and technology. Currently, she is the Director of Technology Operations at Dimensional Innovations, a great company, a design build tech firm in Overland Park. She believes strongly in giving back to the community and is getting ready to join the board of Win for KC. Big fan of women leaders in college sports, as I am as well. She's also on the board of Kansas Sports Hall of Fame and the USA Bobsled and Skeleton.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm not, I don't know about skeleton. We're going to learn a little bit here. You live in Olathe with your husband and MMA fighter, Jason, and your 11-year-old daughter. Thanks for joining me on Small Changes, Big Shifts today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you.
We'll talk about your sports career a little bit. On this show, we talk about building rhythm and resilience, especially during these fascinating times of uncertainty. And I think in sports, there's some stories. So tell us your story about sports.
Oh, gosh. What do you want to know? There's so much to say. I actually, when I was a kid, was not super into sports. My mom thought that I was going to grow up and be a writer and just kind of be, maybe participate in some sports, but never be super serious about it. So she was wrong. At some point, it bit me, and I started getting excited first about soccer. And then as I went into junior high and high school, got pretty into cross country and track and had a lot of success and realized, okay, this is my thing, So in high school, I was a two-sport athlete, I guess you could say. Cross country in the fall, track and soccer in the spring, and I was a total workhorse. Just working out before school, soccer practice after school, track practice on my own usually as the sun was going down after soccer practice, running from soccer game to track meet, and it paid off. I won 3 state championships and was recruited by some schools to run track. Unfortunately, I didn't get recruited much to play soccer, so I had to give up my first love, and I went to the University of Nebraska. Let's see, I'm switched, so I have to use this hand. University of Nebraska, and did track and field and cross country there, and actually really struggled a little bit between my freshman and senior years, and had a pretty terrible, terrible run. Where I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't have an injury. I didn't have a specific illness. They thought maybe I had exercise-induced asthma, vocal cord dysfunction. I mean, we just kind of ran the gamut of things that they tried to figure out why I was running so slow. And I think at the end of the day, I was actually just very, very stressed. And because of that, I think stress will manifest itself physically eventually. So you can be very, very mentally tough, which I always have been, and that's always been a source of pride for me. But eventually, if you don't take care of yourself, your body will put you down on the ground and say, you're going to knock it off now and take a break. And so I think at the end of the day, the physical issues I was having, why I was so fatigued all the time and run down and just not able to run fast, was because I was stressed out. And once I started prioritizing health in a more well-rounded way, I was able to really fulfill my potential. So my senior year, I went from starting the beginning of the year way slower than my PR to slowly setting PRs and shaving time off. Meet after meet. I won Big 12 championships. I qualified for the NCAA meet my first time in my whole career. I made the final. I placed 5th. I was All-American. And in doing so, I qualified for the Olympic trials. So I just kind of had this complete turnaround season my senior year. And in qualifying for the Olympic trials, I had 5 weeks all of a sudden at the end of my season, which I thought was going to end, and just got back out training and shaved a whole 20 seconds off of the time I ran to make All-American, and not only won the Olympic trials, but set an American record in the process. So it was, sometimes when I talk about it, I'm like, how did I do that? But it really was a turnaround season, and had a lot to do with some of the things that you preach and practice all the time, which was prioritizing health and wellness in a well-rounded way.
Well, you did say something a few minutes ago that I want to go back to, and it was your body kind of stopped you. And
Yeah.
we have a saying, I actually heard it years ago from a chiropractor who heard it from one of his nurse patients, the Ultimate Healers nurses, said that if you don't make time, your body will make time for you.
Yes.
Or he might have said it this way: if you don't invest as you go, your body sends you a big bill. That's really the way they said it. I added the time factor. So I'm glad you brought that up. So we're in a time of resilience. And, Ann, to be totally transparent, we've talked about doing this show for at least 18 months, maybe longer. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, God knew the exact time that people need to hear about this during this time of resilience. We're trying to figure out, how do we navigate this time? So let's go from how you went from kind of stressed out for many reasons.
Yeah.
And then you were able to turn them around. What are some of your tricks? Because I think about celebrate, guide, connect, which provide hope. And so I'm celebrating you and your tenacity. I'm celebrating you and the way you give back to our community. That's how we met, through some of the work that you do with the different women's and girls sports organizations. But then what are some guidance? So I have two guidance questions. You can take whichever one you want first, because you're also a mother.
Yeah.
So we have parents. And I would say that it's a different generation right now, because my generation, we didn't grow up with phones. And I don't know about your generation, if you had a phone in high school. Did you have a phone in high school?
No, not until the end of college did I have a phone.
Okay, so there's a little distraction with that little box, right? That phone. And so give me, I want two things: guidance of how you got yourself through that, because I believe that this machine has pretty much stayed the same the last couple 100 years. Needs some of the same basic things it's always needed. But the other thing is, how do parents inspire, motivate, encourage their kids?
Okay, so tell me the first one again, because I'm going to make sure I don't forget the second one.
I'm not going to forget it. The first one about well-being. How did you shift? What are some things you did right then to shift? Because there's something with creating a rhythm that will lead to resilience.
There is. And I had to learn this lesson the hard way multiple times. So it wasn't the first time that I had learned this lesson. I knew better. I developed mononucleosis in high school, and that's the first time I learned it the hard way, that I'm actually not invincible. So this was the second time that I really had to learn it the hard way. And what I had to shift was thinking that I could just go, not prioritize rest and nutrition and anything other than hard work, and think that was going to pay off. So it's this mentality that a lot of people have when they start out, that it's really simple. I just work my butt off and I will get results. And it will work for a while, but to have longevity, it doesn't make sense. And I'm not talking about, anything super frou-frou and babying yourself and all of that. I'm just talking about being reasonable. And so hard work was never a problem for me. That was always easy. That's what I knew. That's what felt good to me. That's what I could do. What was hard was saying, hey, today I'm feeling unusually tired. I don't think it's a good idea for me to do a 4-mile morning run and a 10-mile workout in the afternoon. Something has to give. We got to step back a little bit on this workout, make it a little smaller. I got to skip the morning run because I'm just not feeling myself. So that was one thing, is being able to admit that sometimes I needed to dial it back a bit, and that didn't mean that I was being weak or someone else was going to get ahead because they didn't do that. They were continuing to work hard. The second thing was prioritizing sleep. And again, I knew this lesson, so I was learning it again. But how important sleep is in your body's ability to recover and keep going and keep working hard. I had to look at it as, if I want to keep working hard every day, I have to give my body enough rest. And that can be really difficult depending on the different demands in your life. I mean, I was in college, I was majoring in computer science, which was a difficult degree. I had a lot going on. So it wasn't easy, but it is doable. it's just like a budget. It's not easy to save money, but it is doable. You can look at some of the things that you're spending money on, choose not to spend money on those things. Same thing with looking at the reasons why you're not getting enough sleep, and you can do without them. It's just hard. And then the third thing was nutrition. So there's a difference between not eating junk and eating healthy. Not eating junk means, maybe you're trying to avoid fried foods and a lot of sugar and stuff like that. But that doesn't really cover eating healthy. Eating healthy means, what is the variety of nutrients that you're getting? Are you making sure that you're mixing it up so that you're not getting the same nutrients every day, and you're not eating the same thing every day, and you're not eating a small list of things every day? So really expanding the different types of fruits and vegetables that I was eating, the different types of lean meats, and the different types of, carbs. And also, of course, water intake. So it's just a shift in making a priority of those things and not thinking of them as weakness, but actually as just as important a part of your success as everything else. And I found that I have to take care of myself that diligently now, just to perform, so to speak, as someone with a full-time demanding role, being a present partner at home, being an involved parent, and also, trying to carve out some time for myself, whether that's staying fit or getting a massage or hanging out with friends. It takes just as much effort to be able to do all of those things as it did to be a high-performing athlete. And I've just learned to accept that, just because I'm not competing anymore doesn't mean I stop taking vitamins and drinking a lot of water and worrying about the variety of nutrients I'm getting. It actually is important for your entire life.
Well, I want to recap what you said. Okay. And I think about it in quadrants. We talk about the quadrants of well-being: mechanical, chemical, energetical, psychospiritual. And I think you really covered 3 of the 4. And I'm going to word it. Let me think if you did that. Sleep. Yeah. So, you said give yourself grace is what I heard. Mm-hmm. And I just gave myself grace yesterday. And I have a goal to do 120 push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. I'm doing a countdown to my 120 days to my birthday. I'm a date nerd. It helps motivate me. And yesterday I also see patients, and it's a pretty physical job. And my body said, you know what, give yourself a break. You've been pushing really hard. So I gave myself yesterday off, which I'm so glad you said that, to just give myself a little grace. But the other thing is, fuel. We know that fuel is important. Hydration. That I don't think it's possible to be well without eating vegetables. I know people ask me all the time, I don't like vegetables. I'm like, well, blend it, do whatever you got to do, put it in. Yeah. You got to get vegetables, and you got to hydrate. And then you also mentioned, of course, Grace, what else? You sleep, and sleep's huge. And just for the people listening in, we're going to be doing a sleep series. Just to give you a heads up, we're in the middle of December. So if you're listening to this live, it's December 9th, but it's going to come out on the podcast on December 16th. So right after the new year, as I get to into my 40 days of gratitude series, I'm going to actually take a couple weeks off to tool up for our sleep series that we'll be doing.
Wonderful.
Yeah, sleep is huge. It's so good. It's so important for mental health. It's so important for chemical health. It's so important for energetical as well as mechanical. All right, last second question. I told you I wouldn't let you forget. So how can parents encourage and motivate their kids, especially in times right now? Hi, Erin. We love you too.
Hey, Erin. Man, it is a marathon, not a sprint. That's what I'll say. I was just talking with someone the other day about this, how you think that certain milestones in parenting are just big check marks, and they're not. It's like little check marks that continue for a very long time. So, for example, potty training. Anyone who's potty trained a kid knows that it's not just like the kid is potty trained as of today, check. It's like, well, they're using it for number 1 now, not number 2. And then that's a big, long cycle of getting them to use it for number 2. And then, well, they're pretty good, but we still have accidents when we go out in public places because we can't get to a bathroom fast enough. And then, well, it's pretty good except at night, right? So it's this long process. And same thing with riding a bike. It's one thing to have balanced for 10 yards. It's another thing to be able to start from a stopping position, get going, and ride around the block. So I think motivating and inspiring your kids, what I've learned is it's the same way. And I thought it would just be like, I'm going to tell her stuff and she's going to listen to it and understand, and I'm going to show her good role models, and it's going to click, and we're going to read all the books with the right role models in them and with a diverse set of characters, and it's going to be great. I'm going to be the best parent ever. And it's definitely not a straight line in that way. But what I have learned is that if you are consistent and you just keep trying and keep trying, eventually you're going to hit home and not even know it until later, because they're going to bring up something that you said or something that you watched together or read together, and you're going to realize that it resonated with them, and then you just have to kind of learn from that. It's kind of like machine learning. You have to learn from that. Okay, what resonated with her and how can I cultivate that? And so I don't know if you've seen this metaphor, but parenting is much more like gardening than it is mowing the lawn. So if you mow the lawn, you're like, okay, I'm going to make this nice path, and I'm going to show you, like, it's going to be like this, and then it's going to turn, it's going to be like this. And you would just follow that path. Here you go. I laid it out for you. This is how you should do it. This is where you should walk on the mowed grass. And gardening is, okay, I'm going to do all the things you're supposed to do. I'm going to, make sure the soil is fertilized. I'm going to make sure there's lots of water on these seeds that I planted. And then I'm going to kind of hope for the best. I'm going to hope for the best weather-wise. I'm going to hope for the best luck in terms of what critters come into my yard and what they decide to snack on, and you have to accept that some of it is out of your control. You can only do what you can do. So with my daughter, Jalen, I assumed certain things and was very, very wrong. I assumed she would love soccer. How could she not? I love soccer. It's the best sport ever. She didn't really like it. She ended up really liking volleyball. She's kind of into lacrosse right now. And I've just kind of learned to set the opportunities up, not push them too much, and not get too excited about any of it. Let her develop that excitement. And then as soon as she seems ready to do something, just take the hand off and go. So it's kind of like being ready for the opportunities to capitalize on her being interested in something, to use it for a positive outcome. And sometimes I feel like I do smart things on accident. So there was this book that I read called How to Raise Successful People. And I can't remember the name of the author right now, but she is the mother of 3 women, one of whom is the CEO of YouTube, one of whom is the founder of 21andMe or 23andMe, and one of whom is like a pediatrician that works in Africa. So how do you raise successful people? She might know a few things. She also is a journalism teacher in Palo Alto that has created this incredible program with some unorthodox methods. And so she has this acronym called TRICK, and it's trust, respect, independence. I can't remember the C.
Compassion?
No.
Caring?
No, it's something like collaboration and kindness.
Oh, I like the last one.
And so she uses that as how you handle parenting, and that she's big on the independence and letting your kids be independent, which can be really hard. Anyway, I read this book and I was talking about it at home to Jason all the time, about how good this book was and talking about what was in it. She wanted to read that book afterwards. And so we read it together because we read every night. Her dad and I alternate every night. So some nights he'll be reading to her and some nights I will be. And so we got through that book, and when we got done, she said, I want to read another parenting book.
Wow.
And so now we are reading, and if you're listening and you have girls or know somebody who does, write this book down. It's called Enough as She Is. And it's by, I think the author's name is Christina Simmons. Do you do show notes? I can send it to you.
Yep, we do show notes. Yep.
Kristen Simmons, maybe. And it's about the modern girl growing up in the world with all the pressures of social media and everything else. And we're reading that together, and it stimulates some really good conversations. So I feel like I'm just trying to be the best gardener I can be, and she's going to be who she is, and I only have so much control over it.
Well, it goes to two analogies, and I want to let you know we have a hard stop because I've got another guest coming on right at 5 o'clock to talk about gratitude from our sponsor, Community America. Thank you so much, Community America, for sponsoring us at Advent Health. But I love the gardening analogy. I think about water. You got to plant the soil, and we have a foundation called Big Shifts Foundation, and the whole thing is how do we get in? How do we till the soil and help clean up the stuff that got put in there that wasn't really them? You're not worthy. Who do you think you are? All that BS that unfortunately sticks to people. And we're cleaning out the soil from a psycho-spiritual. We're helping them realize that they need water, and they need vegetables, and they need vitamin D, and that they need sleep, and they need to move motion, all that stuff. So anyhow, I love the gardening analogy. It fits really well with my life. But here, you mentioned kindness. Trick had kindness in it, right? Mm-hmm. I want to wrap up with just a couple questions. I'm doing a 40 days gratitude series right now. Mm-hmm. So the word gratitude and kindness, some people say they're similar, but they're different, but they kind of create the same reaction in the body. They help release the feel-good hormones. So what's one of your favorite gratitude practices?
Oh, I love this question. Jalen and I every night talk about something that we're grateful for that day. We talk about something that we're proud of and something that we're working on. And it's a really nice way to just end the day talking about, no matter how the day has gone, talking about good things that we're grateful for, things that we're proud of ourselves, being proud of ourselves, and then something we want to work on, knowing that we're not perfect. And so that's my favorite gratitude practice.
Well, it sounds like the 5-minute journal. It's either an app or book, 5 questions a day. What are you grateful for? What will I do to make today great? There's that intention. Mm-hmm. And I love the rhythm. I believe that I have been blessed in my life because I've created a rhythm. And somebody said earlier today, discipline creates like destiny or something like that. DDD. I don't have it memorized, but I really appreciate that rhythm. So 5 questions. What am I grateful for? I think it's easy. I am a white woman in America. I think it's easy for me. Number 2 is what will I do to make today great? How will I be present? How will I show up? Number 3 is what's an affirmation? I'm enough. I'm a rock star. I'm a good doctor, whatever it is. And then the question at night is what are 3 amazing things that happened today? And this goes to the last question you had is what would have made today better? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kind of the five questions you said. Yeah. I want to come back in as your daughter. I love that you're reading together. So if you're a parent or a grandparent, you can get in the soil with us here. I love the idea of reading books. We've got one of the books here, Enough is As She Is. We'll also have the rest of them in the show notes where you can dial in and we'll put it there. I just want to ask you one final question. Well, 2 final questions. Okay. But we got a tight time.
I'll keep them short. I gotcha.
What's your medicine for the world? We all have medicine I believe God put in our heart to share with the world. What is yours besides your smile?
I love how you ask questions. That's awesome. My medicine for the world is I just am always really interested into what makes each person unique. And I love getting to know people and figuring that out. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it seems to make people feel special, and that is a bonus.
What I heard you say is be curious. Be curious. And that's what's so fun about doing this show is I get to be curious and learn more about you. And hopefully people are getting to learn something that will help make their life go a little bit more smooth. I like to end the show with a quote. Do you have a favorite quote you'd like to share?
Yeah, it's from G.I. Jane, which is a movie that I just loved. And the quote is, "I never saw a wild thing feel sorry for itself."
I've not heard that quote. I've never saw a wild thing feel sorry.
I like that. I'm really big on self-talk, and that quote just kind of comes to me sometimes when I'm throwing a pity party or I'm just not sure how to get through something, and it just kind of wakes up the wild thing in me, I guess.
Well, That is awesome. I pulled a quote for you, and I'm going to put glasses on for this just so you know, so I don't have to squint. Maybe I won't get wrinkles that way. For those of you listening today, thanks for joining us on Small Changes, Big Shifts. I'm with Ann Gaffigan, a community leader, great mom, as you heard, Olympic athlete. Most of all, just a wonderful person. So we've been chatting today. I'd love to hear what you're thinking about the gratitude series, what you do for gratitude, how you learned about it. I'd love to hear your stories and what you're doing with it. So here's the quote I picked for you, Ann. I've never put glasses on during my show, so here we go. Kelsey, this is by Kelsey Grant. The most aligned relationships are the ones that consistently contribute to your happiness, growth, and fulfillment. The most misaligned relationships can constantly deplete happiness, stall growth, and limit fulfillment. Choose wisely what you invest your heart and your life into. That goes with the fuel you're eating. It goes with the exercise, the movement, but most of all, it goes with the people you hang out with. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm going to encourage all of you to stay tuned. I'll be talking with Deborah O'Brien from Community America, and we'll be talking about the word gratitude, my favorite word of the month. And thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Have a good one.